My ex used me to pay her rent while cheating, so I took her apartment and left her struggling alone. Begging for mercy? I'm a 28-year-old guy, and I thought I was building a future with someone who loved me. I live in a mid-sized city. Nothing fancy. But it's mine. I've always been the kind of guy who pays his bills on time, keeps a budget, works hard, and plans for the future. I was raised to believe that stability, loyalty, and showing up every day meant something. So when I met Kayla, thought I'd finally found someone who appreciated that. She was beautiful, this messy, chaotic kind of beautiful. The kind that doesn't come from makeup or clothes, but from energy. She had this laugh that could light up a room and eyes that made you feel like you were the only person in the world. She told me she'd just come out of a rough patch of bad breakup. Some financial instability, but that she was finally focused on her art again. Painting, mostly. Said she just needed a little time to get back on her feet. We dated for 6 months before she moved into my one-bedroom apartment. It felt fast, but everything about her felt fast. Her words, her feelings, the way she clung to me like I was solid ground. And I wanted to be that for her. So I said yes. Rent, groceries, utilities, those fell on me. She said she'd contribute once she sold more paintings or picked up a side gig. I told myself it was okay, that it was temporary. I liked taking care of things. I liked seeing her happy. I'd come home from work exhausted, and she'd be sitting on the floor in her paint-stained overalls, sipping wine, telling me about a breakthrough she had on a canvas. I believed in her. I believed in us. We felt like a team, or at least, that's what I thought. The lease was in my name. That was never even a conversation. She said her credit was a little messy from a card she forgot to pay after her ex left her with the bill. I didn't press. I figured what mattered was that we were building something together. Kayla took charge of decorating. She filled the walls with her paintings, bold, abstract things that somehow felt exactly like her. She rearranged the furniture constantly, saying the energy wasn't flowing right. She even renamed the apartment our little studio sanctuary. I started calling it that, too. She'd offer to make dinner sometimes. But more often than not, I'd come home to her, curled up on the couch, watching some surreal indie film on her laptop, paint still drying on her hands. She told me she was emotionally exhausted from creating all day. I didn't complain. I'd cook, do the dishes, and tell her I was proud of her. I paid the full rent, handled the utilities, covered the groceries. She said she was applying for gigs, freelance commissions, pop-up galleries, art fairs. Just a little longer, she'd say, and I'll start bringing in real money. I believed her. Every time, sometimes I'd catch glimpses of emails on her laptop, conversations with other artists, gallery invites she never mentioned. Once, I saw a PayPal notification, but when I asked about it, she said it was just a refund for a canvas order that arrived damaged. I let it go. I trusted her. My friends started asking questions. Joking comments at first. So, is Kayla ever going to pay rent? She, living the dream while you grind? I'd laugh it off, say she was working on big things that I didn't mind, but something small inside me started to feel off. Still, I pushed it down. We were a team. And teams supported each other, right? It started with the little things. Kayla became more distant, not just emotionally, but physically too. She stopped reaching for me in bed. Her phone was suddenly always face down. She'd disappear for hours, saying she was meeting a client or networking with other artists. Sometimes she'd come back smelling like expensive cologne that definitely wasn't mine. One night, I noticed she hadn't come home by midnight. I texted, then called. No answer. She finally walked in around 2 a.m., laughing to herself and clearly buzzed. When I asked where she'd been, she said, "Relax. I was at a gallery party. It's called having a social life." I didn't want to be the controlling boyfriend, so I nodded. But my stomach stayed tight until morning. Money started vanishing faster than I could track it. I'd see $30 charges here, $50 there, ride shares, boutique cafes, apps I'd never downloaded. I brought it up once, gently. She immediately started crying. "I feel like you don't trust me," she said. "I'm trying so hard, and all you see is the numbers." I felt guilty for even asking. She told me she was in talks with a gallery downtown. They wanted to feature her work next month. She showed me an email, but now I wonder if she wrote it to herself. Still, I smiled, told her I was proud. The final straw should have been the $400 emergency. She said her half of the rent hadn't gone through because of a banking error. Her voice was shaky. Her hands trembled. If we miss it, we'll get hit with fees. Please, babe. Of course I paid it. It wasn't until a week later, while reviewing the bank statement, that I saw the full rent had already been paid by Min Fool. I sat on the couch for a long time, staring at the numbers, but I still didn't say anything. Not yet. A few days later, I ran into one of Kayla's old friends while picking up takeout. I barely recognized her Tasha. I think her name was... We'd met once, briefly. She did a double take when she saw me and smiled awkwardly. Oh, hey, you must be Kayla's roommate, she said. I blinked. Roommate. Tasha looked confused. Yeah, she mentioned she was living with someone who lets her crash while she gets back on her feet. Didn't realize you guys were together? My mouth went dry. I forced a smile, grabbed the bag of food, and muttered something about being in a hurry. My heart was pounding the whole drive home. Roommate? I couldn't stop replaying it in my head. Was that how she was describing me now? Some kind of temporary situation? I told myself Tasha must have misunderstood. But the doubt clung to me like smoke. That night, I watched Kayla laugh at a video on her phone, curled up in my hoodie, like she hadn't just rewritten our relationship behind my back. I asked casually, hey, what did you tell Tasha about us? She glanced up, caught off guard. What do you mean? I saw her today. She said something about me being your roommate. Her face twisted into a smirk. Oh my God, she always talks crap. I probably said that jokingly months ago. Don't be weird. I nodded, but her explanation felt thin. Later that night, while she showered, I picked up her phone. Locked, of course. But I noticed one name in her notifications, Zach. A few laughing emojis and a heart. I'd never heard of a Zach. I didn't say anything, but I copied the number, and I planned to call it. Just once, just to know. The next day, I waited until I had the apartment to myself. My hands were actually shaking as I stared at the number. I must have sat there for 20 minutes, convincing myself I was just being paranoid. But eventually, I hit call. A guy picked up on the third ring. Hello? I hesitated. Hey, is this Zach? Yeah, who's this? I didn't know what I expected. Maybe denial, confusion, something. But his tone was too casual. Too familiar. I made something up. Sorry, man. I think I might have the wrong number. My bad. Before I could hang up, he said, Wait, are you the guy Kayla's crashing with? My heart dropped. Crashing with? He laughed like I was in on some inside joke. Yeah, she said she was staying with a friend while looking for a new place. Didn't realize her friend was a dude. Damn, she always keeps things interesting. I thanked him and hung up. I just sat there, staring at the wall, every word echoing in my head. Crashing, friend, keeps things interesting. She told him she was living with a friend, that she didn't have her own place, that she wasn't even with someone. And the way he said it always keeps things interesting, like they weren't just seeing each other. Like this wasn't new. I couldn't breathe, but I didn't scream, didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I started watching, documenting every text she sent, every late night, every vague excuse. I checked our shared calendar and matched it 2 nights she had commissions. They lined up with texts from Zach. I wasn't just some backup plan. I was her ATM, her rent check, her excuse, and she was lying to both of us. Still, I smiled when she got home. Told her dinner was almost ready because I wasn't done collecting the truth. Not yet. That night, after she fell asleep, I pulled out the lease agreement from the filing cabinet tucked under my desk. It had been almost a year since I signed it. Back then, I was just excited to be building something with her. But now I needed to really know where things stood. Her name wasn't on it. I flipped through every page. Ack! Every clause. My name was the only one listed: sole tenant, sole financial responsibility, sole legal right. She hadn't qualified at the time. Bad credit, she said. Just put it under yours. We'll sort it out later. We never did, and that's when it hit me. She had no legal right to be here. No lease, no agreement. Nothing tying her to this place but me. While I was breaking my back working, she was stringing me along in my apartment, playing house while hooking up with someone else. It should have broken me. But instead, something clicked. I stopped reacting emotionally and started thinking strategically. I began collecting everything: bank statements, messages, call logs. I even recorded her one evening casually admitting she hadn't contributed to rent in months because she was stressed. I backed everything up to the cloud in a flash drive I kept in my jacket pocket. Then I visited the building manager. Told him I wanted to make some changes to the lease, maybe switch to a larger unit in the same complex. Just feeling things out. He looked at me curiously. Anyone else living with you? Nope, I said. He nodded and handed me the updated policy information. When I got home, Kayla was sprawled across the couch, eating takeout from a place I'd never even tried, probably on my card. She looked up and smiled. You look serious? I smiled back, just tired. But I wasn't tired. I was done playing the fool, and I was finally holding all the cards. From that point on, I became an actor in my own life. Every morning, I kissed her on the forehead before leaving for work. Every night, I asked about her art like I still cared. I laughed at her dumb stories. I let her complain about how mentally draining it was to live with someone who didn't understand her creative process. I kept smiling. I kept pretending, but behind the scenes, I was building my case. I checked our shared bank account daily and screenshotted every suspicious charge. I traced cash withdrawals to nights she claimed she was too tired to go out. They'd matched timestamps between her Venmo activity and text. Notifications from Zach. It wasn't just betrayal. Anymore, it was arrogance. She didn't think I was smart enough to connect the dots. Then I found the final nail. On a random Tuesday, came home early. She wasn't expecting me. She was on the balcony, giggling into her phone, barefoot, and wearing his hoodie, one I'd never seen before. I didn't say anything. Just watched her from inside. She said something about this place being perfect and how he doesn't suspect a thing. I recorded the entire thing from my phone. That night, while she showered, I went through her emails. One stood out. A thread between her and Zach about renting the place for weekends, saying she'd talk to her roommate and make sure he'd be out of town. She was subletting my apartment to him. I felt sick. Not just from the betrayal, but from the sheer disrespect. Still, I didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I met with the landlord the next day and told him the truth. I was the only legal tenant, and someone had been living there without permission. He raised an eyebrow. You want her out? I nodded. He slid over the paperwork. I picked a weekend. She said she'd be going to a friend's cabin. She had no idea she'd be coming home to nothing. A few days before her weekend trip, I sat down to look at my finances, and I mean really look. I hadn't checked the full damage in months. I think deep down I didn't want to know. But when I opened my banking app, the truth hit me like a freight train. My savings? Gone. My credit cards. Maxed out. Even my emergency fund, the one I'd built over 5 years, was nearly empty. It wasn't just her rent I'd been covering. She'd been bleeding me dry in small, constant doses. Takeout, ride shares, streaming subscriptions I never used, spa visits, art supplies from high-end boutiques. She had access to everything, and she used it like it was her birthright. I remember sitting there at my kitchen table, staring at the numbers, completely numb. I hadn't bought new shoes in over a year. I'd stopped ordering lunch at work. I canceled trips, skipped birthdays, turned down promotions just to stay close and support her journey. And for what? So she could cheat, lie? Profit, my phone buzzed it, was a $14 charge for some delivery I didn't authorize. Probably another overpriced smoothie or sushi roll. I laughed. It sounded more like a choke. Then I cried. Quietly, ugly, alone. It was the lowest I'd ever felt. Not just because I was broke, but because I realized how thoroughly I'd been used. Like I didn't even exist outside what I could give. I almost called her right then. Almost exploded. Almost begged her to explain how someone could do this to another person. But I didn't instead. I closed the banking app then. I opened my calendar. The weekend was coming. The paperwork was filed, the locks were scheduled to be changed, and I was done crying. She was about to learn what it feels like to lose everything. She left on a Friday morning with her usual flurry of chaos, threw clothes into a duffel bag, forgot her charger, kissed me on the cheek like nothing in the world was wrong. "I'll be back Sunday night," she said, sunglasses perched on her head. "Don't eat all the leftovers." I smiled. "Drive safe." Soon as the door closed, I got to work. The locksmith arrived an hour later. Quick, discreet, and completely understanding when I said, "It's a safety issue." By noon, the locks were changed, her keys were useless, and every one of her belongings was boxed and labeled, stacked neatly in the hallway closet. Clothes, makeup, paint supplies, even the framed pictures she insisted on hanging. Everything, except her phone charger. I sat on the couch with the blinds open, sunlight warming my face, breathing in silence for the first time in months. Real silence. No passive-aggressive sighs, no one throwing guilt at me for being tired or broke or emotionally checked out. Just peace. Sunday night, 9:17 p.m., the door handle rattled, then a knock, then pounding. "Hey, babe, my key's not working. Can you open up?" I waited a few seconds, then opened the door just wide enough for her to see me and the envelope in my hand. "What the hell is going on?" she demanded. "This," I said, handing her the envelope, "is everything. Your texts, your transactions, your recordings, and a written notice that you're no longer welcome here, legally or otherwise." Her face went pale. "You're kicking me out?" "No, you were never on the lease. I'm just correcting a mistake." She shoved the door, but I held it firm. Her voice cracked, suddenly softer. "Can we please just talk about this?" I looked her dead in the eyes. "You already did all the talking." "Kayla," I just finally stopped listening. I closed the door. For good, I expected silence instead. What followed was chaos. Within an hour, I started getting texts long. Frantic paragraphs from Kayla that flipped between fury and desperation. First, it was "you heartless piece of ****. Then it became "please, just talk to me. I'm sorry. I didn't mean for it to go this far." I didn't respond. Then her friends started messaging me. One DM stood out. "Bro, I don't know what happened between you two, but I saw her crying outside your building. She said you kicked her out. That true?" I didn't answer, but I didn't need to. The story was spreading faster than I imagined. Turns out, Zach had already dumped her. After I sent him a neatly packaged folder with her messages, screenshots, voice clips, proof she was using both of us, he simply replied, "Damn, thanks for letting me know," then blocked her. Cold, efficient, just like I needed. By Monday, her Instagram was a mess. Cryptic posts, sad selfies, captions like "some people will never appreciate your heart." She even posted a black and white photo of her crying in the backseat of a car. Comments were a mix of sympathy and skepticism. But the best part, people started connecting the dots. Friends she lied to, clients she flaked on, roommates she ghosted in the past. Suddenly, everyone had a Kayla story. And they weren't kind. She kept texting me. Every day, dozens of messages. "I have nowhere to go. Please just let me come back for my stuff. You don't have to take me back. Just help me. Please." I said nothing. I wasn't angry anymore. I was free. In the silence. That was my response. Because after everything she put me through, she didn't deserve my rage. She deserved to feel invisible. After the storm settled, I walked into the leasing office and asked a simple question. Is this unit available for renewal? The property manager looked up my record and smiled. Absolutely. In fact, with your history, you're eligible for a rate lock and interior upgrade if you renew early. I signed the paperwork that same day. This apartment, the one she trashed, took over, disrespected, was now officially, legally, mine for another year. I replaced the curtains she bought with ones I actually liked, donated her furniture, scrubbed every surface clean, not just of her mess, but of her presence. I repainted the walls. A fresh shade of gray-blue. Cool, calm. Nothing like her chaotic reds and yellows. I ordered a proper desk, something I'd always put off because there's no room. There was plenty of room now. The space felt different, lighter, like it could finally breathe. One night, I ran into a mutual acquaintance who used to follow Kayla's art. He looked surprised. "Hey, you two still together?" "Nope," I said flatly. He chuckled. "Saw her posting about sleeping in her car. Thought it was some performance art thing?" I didn't laugh. Just said, "Nah, that's real." Turns out, Zach wasn't the only one she tried to run the same scam on. Another guy messaged me weeks later, found my email through a mutual connection. He said she tried crashing at his place too, with the same, "I just need time to get on my feet" routine. He wasn't dumb enough to fall for it. She burned every bridge she had, and me. I sat in my apartment, feet propped on my coffee table, drinking whiskey I no longer had to ration. I wasn't rich, still climbing out of the financial hole she left me in. But for the first time in months, I wasn't anxious. I wasn't walking on eggshells. I was rebuilding, on ground she'd never touch again. The first night, I truly slept, like really slept high, woke up disoriented. No sounds of her pacing at 2 a.m., no one blasting music while I was trying to work. No guilt trips, just silence. Clean sheets. The soft hum of the city through an open window. It was peace. I didn't realize I'd forgotten how to feel. I'd blocked her number that morning. I'd left it unblocked longer than I should have, thinking I needed the closure. But I didn't. Every message was the same. Loop rage, manipulation, pity, more begging. She'd say things like, "You threw me away," like I was nothing, and I'd stare at the screen, thinking, "You threw yourself away the moment you treated me like an ATM with a heartbeat." I deleted every photo, cleared out old messages, removed her from every account she ever touched. No more streaming services under my name. No more shared passwords. Not a single digital trace left behind. Sometimes, when I walked past the spot on the balcony where I first overheard her laughing with someone else, I'd stop for a second. Not because I missed her, but because I remembered who I was before her. Someone kind, loyal, steady, and still that same guy. But smarter now, sharper, a hell of a lot more careful with where I give my energy. Weeks later, got one final message. Not a text. Not an email. Just a crumpled note left taped to the door of the apartment. "I know I ruined everything. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I have nowhere to go. Please. I'm begging you. Just help me." I read it once. Then I dropped it in the trash without a second thought. Because the truth is, she used me for rent, for comfort, for convenience, but I took back my power, and now I sleep soundly in the home she'll never step foot in again.